Hi, good afternoon, man. How you doing, Lance?
I'm good, and yourself? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
It has. It really, really
Yeah.
has.
No, but it's a pleasure. Listen. I'm happy you took the time to come out to be on part of the podcast. The podcast name is Dream Plan Execute. I highlight and look for persons who dream frictionless, plan thoroughly, execute relentlessly. And you, Lance, are one of those persons. You've shown time and time again to be in an industry that's difficult to break in and
Mm.
consistently growing over time. But I want to bring it back to how we met, right? You
Yeah,
know, it's an interesting story because I'm leaving from work and I normally go and work out at the park, Tillery Park. And we just kicked it off. You and your friend was out there working out. You guys put me through the gauntlet.
yeah.
Put me through the gauntlet.
Yeah, I remember. I love those days. I always reference those days, the gauntlet. Yeah.
I was, we doing the ladder push-ups. I never done so much push-ups in my life, man. At one time, I was sore for days. So no, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. But I want to bring it back to how you started in construction industry, but before that, like high school into where you are at Turnkey CEO.
Got it. Well, one, I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for thinking of me as I continue to, build my brand and grow my business and um, be in the forefront in the construction industry and just even as a business owner overall. I really do appreciate these opportunities. So thank you for seeing what I've got going on and highlighting that. But
Absolutely.
but to answer your question, so high school. So I'm a New Yorker, Brooklyn born and raised. I was born in Kings County Hospital, which anybody from like New York City or Brooklyn knows. Kings County, and I went to high school actually in East Flatbush, Tilden High School. It was like my first choice on my high school slip, and when I got accepted to the school, everybody was like, why did you choose there?
Mhm.
Um, Ironically enough, as I guess a 13-year-old kid, I only look at the positives of why I wanted to go there, which was they had like a law program and a JV football team.
Okay.
I didn't look at graduation rates. I didn't look at all that other stuff, which was like crime and data statistics and, put myself in a situation that I probably shouldn't have been in. But I actually am thankful for the experience because like just growing up in the city, I wasn't always the biggest kid from people trying to like test you and
Right.
rob you or just fights or whatever. And I
Right.
know this might seem, you wonder how that correlates to business too, and is that I feel like those experiences made me battle tested. And if you're gonna be an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
you're going to be faced with battles, you're going to be faced with adversity, and it's really about like how you respond to those adversities or those battles. And growing up in high school, growing up in the city, having just to look out for myself and hold it down,
Right.
I was already battle tested, like you know
100%.
it's like a muscle, seriously. So
50 talk
um
about it all the time. That
mm,
gangsters is not just in the street. He's like, I've dealt with people being pressed in the street. People get pressed in boardrooms. What you said? No, we're not doing it that way. This is how it's going down, right? So he says his experience being in Queens, New York, growing up there and dealing with that energy helps him in boardrooms when he's negotiating. So
and that's the funny thing, you know what I mean? Because once again, I also went to like a public, like I said, pretty, if you look at it, it was like one of the most dangerous schools.
right,
And but just coming from, that type of background and then being in this position, I think very not everybody has that perspective. And I want to just, validate the people who come from those backgrounds and those perspectives to see like, yo, you may not be going to private school, like blah blah blah, but
right.
don't count yourself out, you know what I mean? And because that's also what society values. But so yeah,
Hmm.
so I mean I went to Tilden. I ended up graduating high school early, in 3.5 years as opposed
Nice.
to 4 years. The high school curriculum in New York was really simple. It was like this amount of English, this amount of math.
Right.
So I was always like trying to get ahead based off some like personal life stuff that happened when I was just always trying to be ahead of the curve.
Hmm.
So by my senior year, the end of that semester, the first semester, I had all my credits to graduate.
Okay.
And I was a bit of a troublemaker, so I think I went back to some teachers like, told them off like, yo, remember, you feel me? Like, blah, 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 maybe F
Yeah,
you.
right.
And it's just because I knew I could graduate no matter what at that point.
Right.
No one could stop me.
Yeah, when you're in the senior, your step is different when you get to senior year, yo. Yep.
So long story short, my guidance counselor, who I used to be sent to her class, her room when I used to get kicked out of class multiple times
Right.
or different situations. I guess she was tired of me. Not I guess. She was clearly tired of me, and I had not known it.
Right.
So after I did that, she got a wind of it. And long story short, they ended up printing my diploma the same day. Like, I got graduated like unintentionally. Like, I went to school thinking, and they like sent me downstairs like, yo, you got your credits? Here's a diploma. Bye. Go. And I was like devastated.
Right.
Like, wait, what? Like, huh? Like,
Yeah, because you didn't get to walk. Because you wanted to walk, you wanted to invite the family.
I mean, I did walk in the end, but I mean, when I went to school that day thinking I'm gonna have a whole full semester of high school to finish off senior year.
Right.
That's the senior day pictures, Jersey Day, wacky. I'm not in any of those pictures. I was not there, but I did get to walk. But excuse me. So that being said, I graduate early, and I'm bored at home now. I'm not a person. I'm a very self-motivated person. I've always been self-motivated. So I went and go and find a job, and I tried to apply to college now.
Okay.
So I started at LaGuardia Community College. I started as a non-matriculated, like a non-degree student, just because to speed up the acceptance process. If I would have tried to file formally, it was already past that deadline.
Right.
But I figured I'll matriculate at a later time. But let me just start taking classes towards what I think I want to study. And when I matriculate, I could transfer these classes over. That was the thought process behind it. LaGuardia being the only school also who had like a spring semester that started in the March as opposed to January, that's what allowed me to do that. So that's how I ended up in LaGuardia Community College. And then I ended up getting a job at KFC and for a couple months while I started school. And then I ended up getting a job at IKEA, which I was working in the kids department. And then, which translates into the construction industry, I became a kitchen planner while working at IKEA. So that's going to be my segue into the industry initially. I did kitchen design at IKEA for 5 years. I did it all throughout college. So I went to CUNY LaGuardia. I got my associate's degree and then transferred to SUNY Stony Brook to get my bachelor's degree. Not a business school. I had only applied to 2 schools, SUNY Albany and SUNY Stony Brook. I didn't get into Albany's business program because I had a 3.198 GPA or something like that, and their business program was a 3.2. So I was like, Stony Brook it is.
Right.
So, and I just wanted to get out of the house, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. You really like, even though you're taking incremental steps, and that's what most people get stuck at. Like, they're home and they don't make the initial step, right? The Japanese call it kaizen, which is continuous improvement. And that's what Toyota used to build Toyota, which is just small incremental steps give you exponential growth if done consistently, right? So yeah, you're home, you're trying to figure it out, but you still went and got a job at KFC to keep your gears going, right? You're still, okay, I can't get in by the formal means of like a full degree program. How can I get in? How can I move? All right, I can get in like this. Okay, I'm in. Okay, no, I'm in. What's the next move? Oh, the next move, I can transfer over here and get the full degree. All right, bet. That's what I'm going to do. Where most people don't see that momentum shift. And it's great as an entrepreneur, especially in construction, where conflicts always come up. Problems always come up. There's never a straight line to a problem solution. And if you get stuck with 5 guys just standing around in the field, you know, as a CEO and a construction head, how much that's going to cost you.
Of course.
So, no, that's really good experience that you had. So then you finished with Stony Brook. What made you feel like, all right, I want to do construction as a CEO and running a construction company?
So I graduated Stony Brook. I thought I was going to go work corporate. America. I thought I was gonna go be like a banker or something, or go work at JP Morgan.
Right.
And I kept like applying to these jobs, and like no one would hire me. I ended up like applying for like what I felt like was a basic job, like a manager for 35K. And once they didn't hire me, I was just like,
Yeah.
screw this. You
Right.
guys clearly don't. You got it messed up. I don't got it messed up.
Right.
And that's what made me start my business into the construction industry. So
Okay.
I was a kitchen designer. I had now had this degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I am still doing the same job that I had. So
Right.
I didn't feel like I progressed in life, and that was really sitting on me.
Mm.
I thought like going to college was going to guarantee me employment, and it didn't.
Right.
So I figured out like what skill did I have, and I equated the amount of hours I was making, like 40 hours a week, how much money I would make in a month
Mm-hmm.
doing designing kitchens in the store, and I
Right.
figured if I could do the same thing but per client, that was how I started. And then what really started was that we used to sub out the kitchen installation to this third party company. And it
Right.
was like a contract that no one really knew existed.
Right.
But I used to see them funnel out. I'm like, yo, this looks like pretty good money right here. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
they're like, it was a volume based business. It was like $2,000, $2,500 installs on average.
Right.
So if I was making 2,000 net, making $17 an hour after taxes, I was like, that's 2 installs a month. That's
Right.
what that equated to in my head. I
Right.
can get that. Naive. No, you cannot just get that. So, but that's how I started. I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad after graduating
Right.
college. I listened to a J. Cole song called She Gon' Pop. Between Rich Dad Poor Dad and J. Cole She Gon' Pop song, I was like, you know what? And not getting hired at Blinds to Go for 35K supervised. I was like, this is my time to like,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know.
And you know what? Most great entrepreneurs are even sports because personal. I always talk about having an athletic mindset when you're doing things, right? Like, so if you're working as an entrepreneur, or even inside a company, most people only see athletes for athletes. I see myself like an intellectual athlete. Skill development is going to pay you, right? So you developed a skill that was able to pay you money, right? So there's that one thing. Then the next thing is for you to develop skill, you have to go through strife, right? You have to do hard work and be consistent and persistent to develop the skill. But once you got it, it doesn't really leave you, but you have to keep sharpening that tool, right? So that's what you did with that. And it's just seeing the nuance. Most people think you have to start in a big corporate America company, but you did, in theory, grassroots experience and then going into management makes you such a killer. You actually know how operations run, right? Versus just seeing it from like a spreadsheet or behind a cozy office. You've been in the field, you've seen how it works, you've seen the processes, and then you can take that and run with it and make it your own in the company or outside the company. So that IKEA experience is a gem. And most people would see them and be like, oh yeah, you were just like, cashier. But like there's things inside these companies that you could use outside and make good money, make it well for yourself. And construction is such a hard business to break into. So how did you, all right, so now you understand, all right, you laid the foundation, you know that you can be sub, but how did you actually go about? Did you get the LLC first? Did you went and go and find your trades first? How did you set up
Oh,
Ken?
Jim, these are good questions. So since I was so broke, I incorporated my first business by myself online. Like I was going on like just Google. I went on like the Department of, it's actually, how LegalZoom charges $500. It
Yeah.
takes like 5 minutes to do this thing. You know what I mean? They
Right.
just type in but I only knew that because I couldn't afford the extra $300 for
Right.
LegalZoom. So I was like, you know what, let me figure it out on my own. So yeah, I was, towards my last like 6 months at IKEA, I already knew I was already mentally checked out. I knew I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't gonna, move up within the company because of, company politics. I'm not going out
Right.
for beers with the managers after work. I'm like,
Right.
I'm some kid from the city. Like we don't, there's no,
Right.
but so I incorporated first. That's what I did first. So I came up. I was already thinking about the name. I had like notes of different names. And I went with turnkey design and construction, and
Mm-hmm.
that was because my family wanted to do like a kitchen service at our house,
Okay.
and through IKEA because I was a kitchen designer, and they made people charge extra for turnkey service, and I just wanted to have turnkey as like that's the
It's a,
service we provide.
it's
We
a
don't provide
beautiful
anything.
name, man. It hits home what you're trying to say, that you
Thank
handing
you.
over a place turnkey.
So
Done, you know?
I appreciate that. But I incorporated first, and that was the first thing. So yeah, just between going online and just Googling, and it wasn't easy, but I like figured it out. It was like $200.
Right.
I did an S corp. Um, yeah, just based on just doing due diligence. You got to find out what kind of entity you should do first. Once you
Mm-hmm.
kind of do your due diligence on that, then you actually make the entity. So I incorporated November 19th, 2013.
Okay.
So I started with that first. And then I started to try to get at first I started as a design service first. I was gonna
Mm,
segue into the installs. Um First 2 years I did absolutely nothing, to be honest with you. I did
mm,
one install actually. I actually still have the check from the guy for my first ever install. Um and yeah, I got the insurances. Oh, you got to get licensed. To my fault. Yeah, I
yeah.
got my HIC license, which was like a packet. You go to Department of Consumer Affairs. I googled all of this.
Right.
Went to Department of Consumer Affairs, got the packet, read it. It was like a 30-question test to get your home improvement contractor's license. So I got that. You got to get the insurance. I had to get workers' comp insurance. So
Right.
um, that was the first time even doing that, learning about that. And I think the first time you got to get it from the state fund of New York State in workers' compensation board. So I went through all of that, got licensed and all of that stuff. Um, but yeah, that's how. And so yeah, we first started doing designs. First couple designs were horrible, man. Like
That's life. Yeah.
I drove all the way to Long Island and like they paid me, but like, then my first install, I used my cousin, my uncle, and some guy that I met at IKEA who told me he did these on the side. Like that was even crazy.
Right.
So that was like I did one job in the first 2 years, and I was doing real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and then back to this contract that I mentioned to you. So on the back end, I was pursuing this IKEA contract with this contact that I had, and he was just shooing me away for 2 years, just kind of like
Oh,
shoo,
right.
shoo, shoo. And he finally kind of gave me, after 2 years of telling me shoo, um, he said, I'll schedule a meeting with you in person. And
Wow.
that was kind of my
Yes.
first big break, so to speak, because I had did one job in 2 years, but he set this meeting with me and I made a website.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not really been doing jobs, and he made me this meeting. He said, "Pull up your website." Gave me the opportunity, and then I had to get relicensed again. I was
Mm,
pretending I got it all relicensed again because I was doing real estate.
right.
And then that contract really changed the game for me. So the
Gotcha.
moment I signed that contract to be like a subsidiary company under like IKEA third party Trayman or whatever their names are, my business, like the next day,
Right.
I got a measure appointment. And then, a week later, I got an install. And that's really how I started. So I really started as a volume based kitchen cabinet installation company. That's what we would do.
Mm,
We used to do, kitchen cabinet, IKEA kitchen cabinet installs all throughout the 5 boroughs.
right.
But it was a volume based business.
Right.
Um, as that happened, people would start asking me to do more things. Oh, can you do demo? Okay, sure, why
Yeah,
not?
yeah, right.
You know, my first demo job, I was supposed to put in a dishwasher. I forgot to put a power line in for the dishwasher.
That happens. It
You know,
happens more than you think, but yeah, yeah,
well, it's my first job, so I'm gonna have to
yeah.
fix it on the back end. Like, oh my god, oops,
Right.
got it done though. I got it done, and
Yep.
I'm always honest and I'm always integrity.
Yeah.
My first install, back to one of my first installs, we butched the job, and I had to call in this sub from somebody that I knew to help me fix the job.
Mm-hmm.
I paid him like $300. He was only there for like 45 minutes, but
Mm-hmm.
he fixed the job. And to back to why I'm mentioning this, the guy who came and fixed my install ended up subbing for me for years, and then he became a part of my company. And
Wow.
back to your like point about how I got into this space, you know, I have really reliable people on my team who have an exponential amount of
Experience.
experience, and I really rely on them and
Mm-hmm.
their expertise to help me and make and guide decisions. So
A
yeah.
100%. I mean, you put yourself out there, you put yourself in the universe to do and chart something. I consider having vector, direction, and magnitude, right? And as you're charting, you're pulling people in for your journey, right? Because, like I said to someone before, if the universe is exponentially growing, infinitely in all direction, wherever you stand is the center of the universe in theory, right? And you can either decide to be a black hole or a light or a sun, and
Mm,
things will gravitate your direction, right? People come
mhm,
into your life to provide guidance or help, but you have to start. You have to be the start. You can be a black hole or a sun. You choose to be a sun, people gravitate around your light. People will be happy to be around you. People will want to work with you, and they want to help a good, well-intentioned person.
mm,
So that's what he saw in you. He saw the tenacity, the
mm.
enthusiasm to want to win. He's like, yeah, I would want to work with someone like this because there's a lot of people who just
Yeah.
want to get the cash, but they don't have any integrity.
Oh
And
nah, yeah. I mean,
contracting is
this
like that, A lot of
to
time you meet guys who are not like that.
to also for your audience and
Yeah,
viewers, like everything you just said, Sun Call and that stuff. The term that I feel like everyone else uses, you kind of mentioned manifestation, so to speak.
right,
You know what I
a
mean?
hundred
You
percent.
know, like you said, you could be the Sun Call, you could be a negative person and just caught up in your problems, or you could be the light that you want to be into the world, like you mentioned. And
Yeah,
like you said, I am a very genuine person. I'm a very positive person. I really work on that. Like that's something I'm really, really big on. Like
right.
the space I hold, you know, I really, really try to keep myself and mentally
Hmm.
in a good headspace to win. You know what I mean? Because like you said, construction's hard, man.
It's
You
tough,
know, you gotta,
tough. It's tough
keep
business,
finding the good and the bad. You know what I mean?
right? And then there's you also was a real estate agent at some point too, right? While you're doing construction. So
Yeah,
how you
which
got into
also
that?
helped. Yeah, I mean that really helped too. So back to life changing experiences too. You know, we were
Hmm.
talking briefly about before getting on and how I
Right,
got here and the luck. So back to a big pivotal part of the story that I guess we glimpsed over was so when I didn't get that job in corporate America that I thought I was gonna get, I
right.
started the company. But the same week or a week after I started that company, I was always interested in real estate. I met a guy
Hmm.
um, who was doing real estate in Bed-Stuy. It was like when Bed-Stuy started to boom.
Yeah,
And he was just mentioning how his name is Bon actually. Bon is like my OG
always need that.
business person
Need
that
that.
like so like this entrepreneurial experience that I did, a lot of this I got from being around Bond for 2 years. Bond was
Yes.
he was a real estate agent, but he was a very good businessman. And he also just, immersed me to a different lifestyle, a different level of culture, a different level of living. He
Yep.
like changed my perspective on life overall. Like,
Yep.
so for 2 years, you know, he was sometimes a son of a gun to work for, and he knows it too. You know what I mean? We talk about it now. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care what nobody says about you. You're always gonna be my God, but you ain't. But he always says nicey nicey doesn't pay the bills. So
Right.
he's also willing, like it's business, man.
Yep.
He has no problem, yo. It's nothing personal. It's just business.
Business.
And he was a businessman first, and some people just don't like how his businessman is. But I got a lot from that experience.
Hmm.
Um, Even down to self worth. I would see him walk out $1 million listings if they didn't give him the 6% commission, and
Right.
seeing a lot of those developers call him back was
Hmm.
like really good business experience. Also, learning about square footage. I was selling homes for developers too, so
Right.
I was exposed to construction already
Hmm.
based off of the real estate. And then also I had a Haitian dad who wanted to fix all the renos in the house himself. So I
Right.
had a little bit of exposure, but at that point I was like, I'm gonna pay somebody to do this. Ironically,
Right. Well, you know what? having that real estate developer experience makes you see a big picture, right? Because you don't get pigeonholed in just the contracting, because at the end of the day, the contracting is to develop the property so you can cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that bigger perspective recognize like, hey, you can still make money off the tools, right? Meaning that you don't have to be on tools to actually make money. And the problem guys have when they're on tools is the back end administrative side of structuring and managing the business, and curbing their enthusiasm to want to be on tools, because from segue into it, there's big things on the administrative side that will break your back, right? Legal, procurement, lead times, right? Negotiating price and terms and conditions in your contract that
Mm-hmm.
sets you up to win. Because you can go belly up in construction easy. I'll give you an
In
example.
one
I have a
project.
contractors working with me, and at some point, when they procured their contract, it was like previously 50% upfront and then 50% at the end. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you procure your contract like that, you're asking to go belly up. Why? Because at 50%, you become my bank. You're waiting until the end of the project after you finish punch list, after you finish everything else, to hope. No, you're paying material and labor the whole time. How about doing draws according to the amount of work you finish on site? That way, you don't have to feel like you're my bank, covering my material and covering your labor. God forbid you run into an incident on site, you know you're fucking up the money and you're waiting till the end to get paid. So that's how like not structuring or procuring a contract well can hurt you, and you're doing it to your own self, not knowing the disservice you're doing to yourself. So tough lessons you learned in construction and like negotiating contracts, like how did you go about your procurement side of things?
I mean, some to the point you just mentioned. I mean, I've experienced that too. I mean,
Hmm.
when I was in the volume based business, it was okay. I think that 50-50 because it was such a small dollar amount.
Right.
But as you know, I went through that experience. I
Mm.
was not letting obviously 50% till the end,
Right.
but
Right.
I was like letting like 10% at the end, and that is still too much.
Right.
Now, like substantial completion, I need 99%. I'm serious because 10% on, especially as sums get bigger,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then, sometimes people start to think it's justified. And it's like, no, the substantial completion means you can, whatever the technical definition of substantial completion is, the space can be used for
Hmm.
whatever intended
Purpose was.
reason was for it.
Yeah.
So if you
And
can now live
safety.
in this space,
Yeah.
that means my job is technically done. And that's not 10%. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
That's a
more
lot of
than
money.
that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went through that. Yeah, I do kind of what you mentioned exactly. We do subsequent progress payments,
Hmm.
based on progress. And that is definitely one tip. I mean, to your point about 50-50 as well, it's all about cash flow. Cash flow is king. And
King.
like you said, if you do not have your funding and the money budgeted properly, or you're not getting those draws when you need that money, then that can ultimately end your project. And I also, I took some online courses. I took a online course at NYU, and I already knew that, but it was even seeing interesting how like
Yeah.
they like articulated that saying these same things, payment schedule, and luckily for me,
Yeah.
I have integrity.
Hmm.
So once we get something going, usually people don't have a problem paying me. They usually like
Want.
paying Zoom because they like exactly. They usually want to pay me like, yo, y'all doing y'all thing. You know what
Right.
I
Yup.
mean?
Yup. 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 No,
So,
it's very important because as you grow in, because it's funny, we come at this at different angles because I work at Tishman Construction, right? But I see myself as an entrepreneur, meaning like I advocate for Roman Parchment LLC at all times, right? Like I will provide you good service, but I will get paid or compensated accordingly. I know how much money I'm saving or making you, in the
sheesh,
sense of
sheesh,
being
sheesh.
able to see problems before it become a problem, manage risk. Because the
Mm,
moment you get the contract, technically in theory you got the money. What you're doing now at that point is reducing means and ways that you can lose money, right? If you're not efficient in the way you bill in the job, you're gonna lose money, right? if you're not buying material on time so that when the guys in the field need it, it's right there for them to use it, you're losing money. So it's
Mm.
like, no, you've already got it signed on paper. It changes from sales and marketing and negotiation to risk management. How am
Yep.
I managing risk? What's the risk? Is all the plumbing done? Because if I put up sheetrock and I'm ripping sheetrock down and the client see that, it's going to get friction on the job site. Your trades are going to lose confidence in your ability to come up with a plan. Like you're managing risk up until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, back into sales and marketing to get new contracts, right?
Yep. Yep.
So how did you learn that sales and marketing side of the business?
Um, Ironically enough, I do think back to your point that real estate experience helped a lot.
Mm,
And working back to Bond, I gotta give my man Bond his. When
one,
I
yep.
worked on the real estate, he taught me how to self promote. He was always
Mm,
big on self promotion. He's like, people have to know what you're doing,
mm,
and I used to post the open houses from there. So
right,
that one, I was already in the mindset of promoting myself, putting
right,
myself out there. So that was one. And then two, back to the sales aspect, I was selling $1 million homes,
right,
and I'm like, if I can sell $1 million home, I
right,
can sell $1 million construction job too. You know what I mean?
right.
And I already do this. This is,
Yeah, you have built-in reps. You got
yeah,
your
you know what I
reps
mean?
in. Yeah,
And obviously, I wasn't starting at $1 million construction jobs. I started at a $2,000 construction job. So even
right.
more of a reason why if I just sold $3 million home, I could sell a 2,000. So I
Yeah.
think that mindset already was that muscle was already instilled in me as far as the promotion. So
Hmm.
now I'm doing this for my business, but I
Right.
gotta put it out there. I gotta put it on there. I gotta make
Right.
sure that it's, you gotta stay in front of people's face. You have to let them know what you're doing. You have to stay top of mind,
Hmm.
especially as a small business owner.
Hmm.
And even from other colleagues, I did the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and one of the colleagues, I talked to her, I was like, "Oh, you're always on LinkedIn." She's like, "No, I'm actually not. I have an assistant who posts this for me." But she was like, you got to be able to promote yourself shamelessly. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I could go back to my frame of work as an intellectual athlete. Athletes make money two ways, right?
Mm,
Athletes make money with their physical work that they do for the organization. Like, get LeBron's making money, but he's still an employee to the NBA or the organization that he works for,
Lakers.
right? He has to go. You can't call in. Oh, I'm not coming to work on Christmas Day. You're going to go play basketball on Christmas, and your kids are going to be home. Everyone's happy because you're getting paid well, but you're still
Yeah.
technically you. Everyone has someone that they're providing a service to. That's just business. Business
Mm.
is
Yes, it
client
is.
relationship and service management, right? He's providing a service. He's very skilled at what he does, so he gets paid more than the average person on the team as such because people come and see him do his work. That's the difference between corporate America and entertainment, basketball, and sports. When you're doing your work and I'm doing your work, no one's coming to see me put together an Excel sheet, right?
Word.
It's not entertaining. It's pretty boring,
Not
right?
at all. Sure.
When LeBron goes to work, people come to watch him do his work. As such, innately by the job function that he does, even a rapper, people come to see you do what you do. Ads and branding want to work with you because you have eyes on you. So when you
Mm.
start as an entrepreneur who's not an athlete or a rapper, eyes on you is very important. Eyes on you is very important because that's when brands want to work with you, right? And brands recognize that if they put 100 million in there and there isn't a person tied to it, they're not going to get the same rate or efficiency as spending 25 million and having it tied to somebody who already has eyes on them, right? So
Mm.
if Nike don't have anybody who is Westbrook or LeBron or a rapper or someone in there, they have to spend so much more money to get the same level of return on investment. That's why
Mm.
they're okay with paying athletes $50 million deals. They're making 300 million in the back.
Of
Where
course.
if I'm spending 150 and still not getting the rate of return, it's business, right? It's just literal. I get paid more because I can produce more.
Mm-hmm.
He gets paid more because he can produce more. It's really that cut and dry. Baseball players get paid more than American footballers because there's more games in the season. There's more opportunity for ticket sales. There's more opportunity to generate cash. yeah, you're running and getting hit, and it's a tougher sport. But 1-to-1, they have more games in the season, so yeah, they can get a 300 million deal for 5 years because they're making way more money on the back end of things, right? So with that said, branding is super important. That's where most businesses fail when they start. They focus only on the operation and they don't recognize like, yo, that's what brings food into the plate, right? You can figure out you can hire in operation. Getting that eyes on you is the hardest part of business, you know?
No,
So you get a
absolutely.
good lesson from this guy, man.
I mean, I'm learning lessons from you too. You're educating me, and I'm like, I try to consider myself a cool person, but the one thing that I'm like nerdy about is like I love all things business,
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. I love business stories, like so.
Right.
And I have a obviously good grasp on just businesses, how it works in perspective.
Hmm.
So when you articulated the baseball and the more games, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, like now, yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's just like it's not that they're being difficult. It's like there's back end of this. And when I talk to my trades on site, I tell them sometimes politics trumps logic, right? Yeah, I know
Oh,
I'm asking you to do work out of sequence, but to alleviate the pressure from the client, sometimes you have to do things out of sequence just so that in the long stretch of the project everything else is going to go smooth, right? Then you have to know when to push back. Like, that's ridiculous. We're not doing that. This is what we're going to do. And it's a real push and pull scenario with your trades and
mm-hmm,
also your client, and then
mm-hmm,
managing scope creep, right? Like, oh yeah, I know I procured this, but no, can you do this while you're here since you're already here? And like dealing with that nuance, you know? So when you write your proposals, like how do you manage like especially on the residential side where majority of the clients you're dealing with have never dealt in construction in a professional setting. It's just a guy coming into the house. How do you manage like scope creep? Like guys just asking you to do quick things.
oh, that's a great question. I think well, one, it's all about your processes.
Hmm.
I think processes can help get a lot of that.
Right.
Um, a lot of those processes that we implemented to manage that, once again, back to the team.
Right.
I have someone in the office who is great, very, very detail oriented. To your point about scope creep, I think our proposals are probably more detailed and more line item than a lot of our competitors.
Yep.
And that's back to the team. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like I said, I'm thankful for the team, and and but yeah, the processes and that's really how we start to manage that.
Yeah.
Being on top of your crews and those line items and doing that on a daily basis, checklists and things like that, and
Yep.
really staying on top of your scope of work. That is kind of the best way. It's all a give and take, and obviously on the residential side, I mean, like you said, you mentioned you said politics, so I was like, that's interesting. And I like, Jay-Z's one of my he got a song "Politics as Usual," and I
Hmm.
use the term politics a lot as well. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing, just the politics, and you got to know how to politic per se,
Right.
uh, and that's a lot of it.
It's people
So
management. If you want to.
exactly. That's exactly what it
Management.
is. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And even hearing you say things, like I feel like we're saying a lot of the things, but we say them in different ways, and I'm actually getting a really appreciating just how you like articulate what my
Oh
thoughts and
yeah.
your
I mean,
thoughts.
we like I said, we're in the same business. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like the reason why project managers get paid the way they get paid is because they're the linchpin between the company making and losing money, right?
yeah.
Like everything else, the CEO is managing legal and all of that, right? He's like maybe you could say he's more like the owner of the football team. The project manager is the offense and defensive coordinator. I win games by putting together a good plan. I keep winning games. People are going to keep coming to your stadium too because people want to win, right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's
I like
just like I know my position. I play it well because I know what I need to do. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at, right? And the persons who are good at what they're good at, let them run and do their things, right? What you're good at, just double down on what you're good at. You just double down on that. Everyone runs their play. Everyone plays their position. As long
Exactly.
as we stay organized and stay
Hmm.
on the same page, we are
Hmm.
going to win, right?
Exactly.
And I see that when you say go back to the team because, an entrepreneur has a stronger risk appetite than most of their employees, right? They're willing to just jump off and figure out the parachute while in the air, right? And everyone else who doesn't have that risk appetite, what's exciting to you is stressful to somebody else, right?
Hmm.
And what's
Hmm.
stressful to you is exciting to somebody else, right?
Hmm.
So like everyone else on the back end, the things that you'll be like, all right, cool, I know how to figure this out, they would just completely hate it. And then when it comes to like, the minutia of the business that's super important, having good proposals is your sword. It is
Hmm.
your sword as a contractor. People forget the root word of contractor is contract. Your
Hmm.
contract is your sword. It will tell you what I'm including, what I'm excluding. It makes it easy to find the line in the sand of what I did and what I'm not doing. If you want me to do more, you're going to have to pay more. And if it's not more, you know, if it's something that's easy, of course, and like that's where the politics and the relationship management is. You do things in good faith, but if the
Hmm.
person is not being fair to you, no, it just goes back to the contract. What's It wasn't written in the contract. This is what's going to cost to do what you're asking for, and we can move forward if we agree on a price. If not, this is something we're going to have to do at a later date, and it's just when you're the captain of the ship, you're trying to go to England, there's so much things that come up, but we want to pull you to Brazil. No, we're not going to Brazil. We're going to England. This is the direction we're going, right?
You're so Jamaican, bro. The colonialism is talking. Let me
Yeah.
stop.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
yeah,
kidding.
no, Aunties, not colors. But yeah, it's like you got to know how to like chart your way. Like you can't let everything kind of derail you. And it's so crazy how things can get derailed if there isn't someone like yourself like keeping it on track, pulling it
Mhm.
back on track. So yeah, man, it's just managing your strengths and weakness. What do you think is your strength, or how did you figure out your strength?
I think you figure out your strength through trial and error. You know what
Mm,
I mean? I
yeah,
mean, some people might be more technically, inclined, such as
yeah,
yourself.
right.
You know what I mean? But I think, yeah, I think my biggest strength is um is the people, the people. Honestly,
Mm,
um, like I always say, especially as male, we talk about IQ versus EQ.
yeah,
I'm really big on EQ, to be honest, and not trying in like that's all about like self work and
right.
self personal development and like intrinsic work.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, back to you, we were talking about team. If I let my ego get the best of me,
Of course.
um, then I can like overstep people and what they do that's better that they do better. You know
Right.
what I mean? And not get caught up on this title and
Yeah.
and ego trip based off of position, and you
Right.
know what I mean. So I think like being mindful of that and knowing how to, like you said, that dance you mentioned earlier, dealing with the subs, when to push, when to pull, when to put your
Right.
foot down, when to set them straight, but
Right.
also when to, pull back too. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta know, you know what, we'll revisit this. You know what I mean? But
Right.
also not allowing your emotions get in the way of that. So
Yep.
back to EQ, right? I just mentioned EQ. I could have a disagreement with someone on my team. I could have a disagreement with, I've had arguments with subs before in the
Mm-hmm.
past. They're
Of
still my
course. Yeah.
subs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
happens.
screaming match, but
Of course. Yeah,
with
it happens.
someone with who my ego trip, you could let that get into the way. Like you're now showing up to work next day and acting funny,
Mm-hmm.
creating a weird work environment. I'm really, really big on creating a good work environment. where everyone's voice also can be heard, and everyone has to contribute. And I also am big on, like, you know, I'm not asking anybody to do something I'm not willing to do myself. So
Right.
if I ask you, do this, you might be better at it, maybe certain things technically, but so I think it's the people, really, honestly.
Yeah.
And networking and being open minded, and those things have helped me progress in that self development of always looking to grow, that incremental steps. That's that open mindedness perspective and trying to grow. And thank you for, like I said, the way you articulated. I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I am.
Yeah, that's really good. But you know what? It helps having the pod because I interview people from different backgrounds, right? Like people who are artists, construction, entrepreneurs, employees, and everybody kind of has their own way of articulating it. But I'm always hearing it, so I'm able to like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we may have. Listen, we have multiple ways to get to Manhattan. At least you're on the train
Mhm,
and you get into Manhattan. So
mhm.
however you get to Manhattan, you get to Manhattan. Some people don't even board the train. They're not even on the train. So when you get there, to me, it's like, all right, respect. I know whatever journey you took to get to this point
Mhm.
required you to have done a couple of things that we might have done differently, a little different, but it's the same result. You're in Manhattan. Respect. That's the way I see it. And I
That's
see
a great perspective.
yeah, it's just like once you see that, you don't fault anybody for their different approach. It's just an approach,
Mm,
It's just an approach you use to get where you need to get because everybody's life experience and judgment was completely different. It's just like your fingerprint, right? But you're still a human being and you're a well-intentioned person. I respect you. That's one thing I learned being at NYU. When I was
mm,
at Poly in downtown Brooklyn,
I
I
remember.
mean, everybody's from some sort of different background, right? It could be the guy from Long Island. My study group was Russian, Jew, white guy from Long Island, Muslim from Egypt, right? This Jamaican dude from Jamaica, just everybody's just a melting pot of people, and the
So,
diverse experience. We get homework that we couldn't understand by ourselves. We do it together. We get it done faster. You get back
wow.
the rest of your day, then struggling trying to figure it out on your
Mm,
own, right? Some of these persons end up becoming my best man in my wedding, right?
wow.
Right, half of those persons are in my wedding party as best
Wow.
bachelor, basically part of my whole wedding party. You know what I mean? So you
That's
learn like school to me was just I different than getting the degree. Okay, that's great, but the people you meet along the way and how you develop a relationship with them through these strife and you learn. I'm like, yo, they might come at it at a different way. I give you an example. 1 o'clock at night, we're studying. Everybody's mom is calling. Everybody's mom is speaking a language I don't understand, but I know why mom's calling and I know what he's saying in his different native language because she's like, "Why are you not home? I cooked. Where are you? Are you out doing this?" No, I'm actually at the library studying.
wow.
Different, brought different backgrounds, same energy. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And at that point, it clicked to me. I'm like, yeah, everyone's a little different, but we all the same.
mm,
And it's just sad the things that's going on in the broader economy. But we forget the humanity of people. I feel like it's brothers fighting brothers.
mm,
If Christians and Jews and Muslims are fighting each other, we're off the same Abrahamic tribe of people.
mm,
It's literally like a father that has three sons, and the three sons hate each other and kill each other. It's just sad.
mm.
It's just generally the
This
forget the politics, who this, who that. Just generally, grand scheme of things, it's sad that brothers are fighting brothers.
mm,
Ridiculous.
I agree.
I saw you doing your thing. I think persons of Caribbean descent and of especially the Caribbean descent where we're from, understand what it means to stand up for your rights in the face of um, the man. You know what I
Mm,
mean? The person who's holding you down. And
exactly.
I respect. I saw it, and I was like, I respect this guy even more for being able to be out there with the people. So.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, we can up, and that's why, like you said, these podcasts are important because once again,
Hmm.
your perspective, my perspective, being, we were talking about it before this call, like, as, black men in construction,
a hundred
the
percent.
rarity of it. And, obviously we want everybody to watch this, but
Yeah,
how much of a rarity it is. I really do look at, like, no one in my space, like, who's doing what I'm doing. I'm also doing like luxury too. So I'm like,
right.
those, who's doing luxury? Just
Yeah.
talk nice. That's what I'm gonna drop some mic. Let me stop.
No, no, you're dead serious. You're 100% serious because I did I did Citibank global headquarters, right? Their lobby. And banks, when you step into the lobby, they're making it a statement piece. They want you to know we got money and we're well intentioned. They're getting stone from Brazil, they're doing things is coming from Europe, and everything has to be immaculate, everything has to be perfect. And there are times I'm walking the job site and they're like, okay, who's running the job? Oh, sorry, I'm running the job. You're running the job? I'm like, yeah, I'm running the job. To me, those second guess or like that offhanded unconscious bias, I literally look past it because the if I'm putting points on the board, you can't deny me. You just
Talk it.
can't. I'm just putting too much points up on the board that it's just whatever you had in your mind or you felt or your self doubt or your it's just going to be undeniable by the end of this project that this is the guy. This is
I
just the
am
guy.
I am the
I
guy.
am him. I'm a but it's just all right, cool, no problem. All right, you have self and like again, athletes. Just think about it. Someone comes into the league. The reporters are saying, well, he may be not be able to transition from college to college to the NFL or basketball, NBA, right?
Mhm.
Your job as an athlete is just prove them wrong. Just put
Exactly.
points on the board and keep winning. The narrative is going to change around you, right?
That's
Your
true.
narrative for me, that's your narrative for me. I have a narrative for myself. I'm a win and I'm going to win. I'm going to do
Exactly.
what's necessary to win. So I'm going to do my training. I'm going to make the sacrifice. I'm going to keep diligent and the narrative is going to change. And so I come into rooms where before it's still the same. Like you come into planning rooms, it's just you that one black person. I literally come in the room on not insecure about that at all. We're coming to plan the game. I'm gonna tell you what I think is the best way to go about it. You tell me your way to go about it, and that literally over time just disappears as an issue.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I wonder, do you have that perspective because you think you were you, like, did you ever, like, you didn't experience racism in Jamaica, obviously.
It's not as bad as here. I
Okay,
think
okay.
growing up outside of the Caribbean, outside of America, even though it's a third world country, gives you a level of you get you get you get a level of confidence. I had to learn this coming here, by the way,
Mm,
like because at first I just didn't understand that, but living here and keeping your ears and listening and observing makes you change your perspective. So yeah, growing up in Jamaica, yes, it's a third world country, but everybody's majority black, and they're judging you on the base on your character, right? And you have an anchoring point that is you have a
mm,
culture. You can go back to your culture. You have a land that you can call technically your home if nothing else works out in theory,
mm,
and you have people around you who have developed and mentor you to have confidence in your ability to get things done, right?
mhm,
Versus someone here who is don't have that, right? And at every moment and every junction of your perspective is someone of a different race, right? Calming down and belittling. And like I said, compounding interest works with everything, right? So you
mm,
have compounding interest in money. Overall, it takes a little bit of time and then there's an exponential growth. Little transgressions over the period of 10, 15, 30 years is going to obviously skew your perspective with everyone and there's going to be a lot more anger to it than someone who never had to deal with that in the first 15, 20 years of their life, right? And that's how I had to like be more like, okay, growing up outside of America is an advantage, not a disadvantage. coming into the game later was an advantage. Yeah, okay, this is a first world country, but they have more things mentally bobbing them down, and the structure is a lot more stringent than being able to build. I literally grew up in Wakanda. That's what I felt like. But
I'm glad you noticed that.
yeah, it's hard, and it's usually pretty hard for a lot of Caribbean people to recognize it. It is because you come from like you. When I was in the Caribbean, it's like, listen, I come from a place where, like, basically, you're lucky if you have running water in certain areas, and though everyone's you're assuming everyone's lazy. It's not lazy. It's not lazy. It's not having mentorship, not having a cultural experience that pushes you. Like, if you know Jamaicans is in everything, literally anything there is bobsledding. Why is that the case? Because culturally, we believe in hard work. Like, I have white Irishmen tell me that, like, culturally, like, Jamaicans always have 10 jobs. Like, that's culturally what they know, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In Jamaica, we have a saying, "You little but we taller," right? Meaning that you might be small, but you're taller or you're strong, right? Small axe cut down big tree. So
Yes,
we
sir.
enjoy, literally, it fuels us when you, like, second guess, because we know where we come from, and we know we're from a race of people where we will work to the bone to get what we want, right? And coming into the game with that energy and that confidence, it changes your perspective, to your point. Yeah. So, man,
Glad you noticed that.
yeah, man, it's just like, I think most people just, you gotta just sit and observe, man. Just take a look, observe, look at what your surrounding is giving you, and have and plan from what they call first principle, which is unbiased, unemotional. Just look at it first, and then build in the nuance to it. Who do you think on your journey, like overcoming trauma as a child, adult trauma, was your support team in getting to where you are right now?
Um, I would have to say my family, regardless. I
Mm,
mean, obviously, they're the ones who probably, where does the foot trauma come from? From being around family. But
yeah.
I will say that they just, always gave me a space to be me.
Mm,
But based off of certain childhood traumas, to be honest, I really also I would, let me not be humble, let me be real. Also myself as well
yeah,
too. You know what I mean?
100%.
I from a very, young age, I was emotionally trying to figure out, decipher things, um, just personally,
Hmm.
and like that. I don't know. I was always like, I guess, trying to figure out like, um, solve or like, I guess, heal my pain, so to speak.
Mm,
And that's what made me start like looking within, back to like not being, even back in school, I used to like lash out. So like,
right.
I was already uh, lashing out emotionally from a very young age. So, as I gotten older, I just, I had to look within and said, hey, like, if I want to, me beefing, me having trouble or mad at the world or anybody, it's not the world, it's not going to make the world, I got to do it for myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, because the world is not complaining. I'm the one that's complaining. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you really have to look within. But the thing is though, to look within, you also have to look at like in the part you play, it change your perspective. And, a lot of people want to get caught, like perspective is so important and people just want to
Yes.
get caught up in, blaming the world for their problems. But like, if you look within, you will really get those. And I'm not, I still have a work to go and it's a never ending process, but
Yeah.
really looking within. But when you look within, you just don't only see the good, you see the bad, the ugly,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that's the part people don't want to face because then you have to hold yourself accountable. And a lot of people can't hold themselves accountable.
How do you go about the process of looking in? Like, how do you get to a
Mm.
point where that's what you're doing, and, like, how does that work?
That's like that, but some of that's some classified information, man.
Yeah.
I can't- but I will say that being open minded, I have
Yeah.
like met people who like introduced me to different things. I mean, therapy is one
Yeah.
obvious one. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
That many people do. Um, but I was just part of like different organizations, like real self development. I'm just into self development.
Yeah,
Let's just put it like that.
yeah.
And when you get
What I normally tell people is just make some quiet time for yourself
this,
because
but you a
like
PM man, you're a different beast, man. You're very technical. I understand people like I admire people like you too. You know what I mean? Like you're technically sound. You're like even like I said, how you break things down. It's just the way your brain works. You're able to like break things, complex things down and break them down because it's kind of like planning your
I'll
project.
tell you where that come from. I was a terrible student. I was a very
Okay.
bad student. I was a very bad. I was good at art,
Oh,
but
cool.
like math at some point got really difficult for me in high school, right? And I was just
Mhm.
so frustrated with myself. I just couldn't understand. There are two pivotal things in my life that I think if those two events never happened, it would be different. One was tennis, like becoming very good at tennis, and the next one was becoming good at math, right? So for tennis, I was a fat, short kid in prep school, right? And I just wasn't very athletic. I didn't take it serious, and you get teased or people wouldn't want to be your friends, etc., right? And my mom got me a tennis racket and said, "You're going to start playing tennis, right?" And first class, I'm like, he's putting my balls all the way out to the end, right? He's just a tough guy. None of the kids wanted to play tennis with him for long because he was just rough, right? And I just kept showing up, man. I just kept showing up to class, to the tennis class, and I just kept playing tennis. Like I played at break, didn't have much friends at that point, right? So at that point, I would just play tennis at break, and I would play tennis after school. And I did that for a long time, and I noticed a change. A change moved from, oh, it's a fat kid playing tennis to, oh, he's losing weight. Like, oh, he's actually getting good at this.
Interesting.
Oh, wait, he's become tennis captain now. Oh,
Wow.
wait, you won regionals. Oh, wait, you
Oh,
won nationals. Oh, so like, no, everything completely changed. You're not the fat kid just running around with a racket. People's perspective changed by you being disciplined. You change yourself, right? Yeah, everyone else has something to say, but you have something to say for yourself, and you're holding yourself accountable, right? And you're doing it for a long period of time. So that changed my whole perspective on anything. I ended up getting the principal award at the prep school
wow.
because passed for a decent school, and I wasn't a great student. I was always in extra class, right? I always was taking classes on the weekend just to understand things, and I recognized in myself, and I just was okay and comfortable. Like I just take a longer time to understand something. But once
Mhm.
I understand it, I understand it and it never leaves.
Mhm.
So just
Yeah.
give myself grace. I'm like, all right, I'm
Cool.
not this kid. This kid just gets it quickly. I'm just that's not me, but I'm gonna get it. And I
Mhm.
have the work ethic to get it. I have the fuel. So I'm just gonna drive a little longer, but I'm gonna get there, right? So
Dope.
that happened. And then math just became real difficult in high school, man. It was just not clicking, right? I wanted to do engineering and architecture at first, and I had a really good math teacher who had patience and grace. What was the patience and grace? He was bad at math and he got good at it. And he's like, "What's your process of doing your homework?" I was like, "Well, I see you do it on the board, and then I think I get it in class. And I look at the question, and I don't get it, and I don't attempt the question because I don't get it." And it's like, that's where you're going wrong. You
Mhm.
still have to attempt it, and you still have to get it wrong. And until you do that, I'm not going to help you. You have to get over that hurdle and do it. And wherever you get stuck is where I'm going to help you from, because that's the point where you're getting stuck. You may know half of it, but you don't know until you put it on paper. And once I got that, everything else will smooth itself out.
It's overcoming failure, you know what I mean, so to speak.
Right.
And not to segue, I also want to at least give your audience something to your point about mental health, too, about like things I've done.
Mm-hmm.
I've also done a lot of work related to like men's mental health specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, even I'm also big on like, true masculinity and what that looks like.
100%.
And being around things like that have like helped me just be intrinsic because when we talk about like not to just go off on a tangent, like
No, go.
people like DV and all of that. That's actually too much like feminine. There's too much emotion. Last year, like
Right.
people should not be like men should not be doing these types of things
Right.
to like it's never okay to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's not the masculine side. That's actually the nah. Like
Energy.
you
Yeah.
should yeah.
No.
You should not
100%.
be like how dare you put your hand on a woman like what like you know what
Right.
I mean? Like,
I
what's wrong
always
with
think of it like a king in a kingdom, right? And your job as a man is to manage resources, right? Like and make decisions, informed decisions with your queen, right? So there's two perspectives on it that I have. One is what does it mean to lead, right? What is everyone say, okay, men should lead. What is leadership? What's leading? Like let's break it down a little bit more. What's the actual tangible day-to-day activity that you're doing to lead? Lead means starting first,
it?
right? So you want your lady to respect you. You put points on the board. Put points on the board. Work on yourself. Pick out this direction you're going. You're gonna be a plumber. I'm gonna be the best plumber. I'm gonna start my company. I'm gonna run it. And it's not about how she's talking to me now. It's how she's gonna talk to me later once I put points on the board. People are gonna respect the fact that you're putting points on the board regardless. So, all right, you have a problem. I have a problem. My problem is I have to get my life together. I have to organize. And once people see you got purpose and direction, their conversation with you change. The conversation with you change. The respect happens. That's what leading means. Like starting when I'm leading my guys in the field. All right, we're gonna have a plan. This is the plan. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? You think we need to do it this way? No, we're not doing it this way. How are we going to do it? And you're starting that train. You're starting the momentum, and people are like, "All right, we're on board with this energy. Let's go!" Right? That's one. The next one is the vantage point that your woman plays in your life, right? Because you're at the front, because my bricklayers are laying bricks, they may not see that conflict coming up because it takes so much work to be so technical to lay bricks. They may not see that there's a conflict coming up, right? Because they're focused on this. But me being the project manager behind them, I get to see a bigger vantage point, right? That's what you're leading the front and you're dealing with the muck and the technical details, but she can see a bigger vantage point because she's behind you. That's why it sounds like a girl's nagging you because she's seeing things coming up, right? That you can't see because you have to focus on leading at the front, right? So part of me is like leading at the front with my trades, but I'm listening. I'm listening to what you have to say. And then when I get a chance to think it through, I'm documenting that and thinking it through. Okay, yeah, that makes sense actually. She might be right.
I wish I could afford you, brother. It sounds like we need to do some business together, man.
Yeah, we got to. We're gonna do it, man. This is the first start of that. This is a product that we're building together at this moment while we're speaking, right?
That's a fact.
So it's just seeing that. Like that's why the offensive coordinator can see plays that the quarterback can't see. He's not under the pressure of throwing the ball. He can just look unapologetic of what the defense is giving him. And you can tell him, yeah, listen, based on what they've done in the past and how it's charting, this is the play you should play. You could go off track, but you trust him. There's a reason he's getting paid millions of dollars to just look at his clipboard, right? So how do you?
I equate that also to like boxing, just so you know, to like
100%.
the coach in the boxing watching you in the fight. You can't see what's going on, but they see it from the outside in.
100%. Like Mike Tyson isn't Mike Tyson without custom honor. Like he has the raw talent, but custom honor. Tyson's. I love boxing, by the way. It's like high speed chess, and Crawford is my favorite boxer. Just because
I
of
don't know if he can
how
do Canelo though. I don't know if he can handle Canelo though.
he can't. He knows that. Like
Okay,
Canelo,
cool. Okay,
he knows that. He knows that. He knows that. So those two guys, Canelo and Crawford, are one of my favorite because they're counter punchers, which means him, Canelo, and Gervonta actually, because Gervonta, they watch what you're doing. Like there are two different types of boxers to me. There are people who have a game plan, and this is what I do, and that's how I'm doing it, right? And they're going to impose their game plan on you, right? That's what Errol was trying to do to Crawford. Crawford and Canelo and Gervonta, their game plan is way more fluid. It's watching what your game plan is and looking. They're hackers. They're looking at your firewall and they're finding weaknesses in your pattern. They're pattern
Mm.
recognizing, and they build their game plan off that. So when Crawford was there with Errol, and Errol is not even he's not picking up that his pattern is everything starts from his jab, right? That's his piston starter. If he can't get his jab off, he's going to get confused. So what Crawford did, took away his jab. I'm
Mm.
gonna watch, and he's jabbing and jabbing back at him at the same time, and Errol isn't taking his head off the line, right? Like he's
Mm.
jabbing, but he's
I
just
know.
jabbing
I
with
know.
a straight face,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Crawford is jabbing and ducking at the same time. So over 2-3 rounds of someone hitting you with a jab and you can't hit them, it starts getting into your psyche, right? It's little nuanced details like that that what makes Crawford and Canelo and Javante better than everyone else. It's not the
Then
physical.
why? I was just wondering why. Then at that point, that's when your coach got to say like, "Yo, bro, like, you know what I mean?"
Right. You have to have a good coach like to pick up that, yo, bro, you're not taking your head off your line. But here's what, when you get so far in your game, it's hard to learn that. You have to learn that as you were growing up through the amateurs, right? That's you kind of get stuck in your own patterns at that point. And
Mm.
Crawford game is looking at people and building a game plan. And Errol's game is this is my game plan and I'm imposing it on people. So your framework is completely different.
Yep, yep, yep.
You know, Crawford doesn't have a game plan. His game plan is watching you, he's looking at you and building his game plan in the ring. These guys come with a game plan pre-script and they run the play. And if anything comes up outside of that, dead goose.
Oh yeah, your food,
Yeah, man. So no,
food
it's
in my food.
so you played well football or basketball growing up. Like,
I
what's your
played.
sport?
I actually played. Played soccer as a young kid.
Mm,
Then I played high school football my junior and senior year.
got you.
And then I mean leisurely I've boxed. So when you say you're not moving your head on the line, I know what
Like,
you were talking
right.
about.
Nice, nice, nice. I always think having a sports mind frame with anything you do, cooking, being a leader, anything you do, if you have like most leaders have a sports background or have
Yeah,
done play that sport. If I had a kid, he's playing a sport.
of
You,
course
you
it is,
have to.
man.
You're learning leadership. You're learning strife. You're learning how to take L's and win. Feeling like there's so much life lessons that come through
For sure.
martial arts or any sort of sport you play. Skill development. You got to do it. Like people respect you for it. All the leaders that I know are have played a sport or was of sports actively, not like show up to practice, but play to win. So
Of course, no.
so what you do now as like, this stressful construction is stressful, life is stressful, the economy is going crazy. What do you do to unwind and relax and take your mind off certain things?
Um, so to your point earlier, I mean, I think, we talked about habits. Habits are really, really
Hmm.
important. And I try to have daily rituals
Yeah.
to keep me grounded as opposed to like, you know, waiting till I'm stressed to decompress. I'm sure those things are that too. But one thing is about being proactive. Um, and for me, like it's just my routines that I have. So
Mm.
I wake up, my Alexa gives me an affirmation. You know what I mean? I'm
Oh,
putting
nice.
positivity in my head from the first moment I make up.
Okay.
Then I go and pray. Then I listen to another like prayer from a like app, and
Mm.
then I go to the gym. I don't go to the gym anymore to look good. I think luckily back to you meeting me in the park.
Yeah.
I now got the foundation where I'm really gonna look good
Yeah,
regardless. Yeah.
regardless. Right, 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 right.
But, so maybe it's easier to say that, but I really work out for mood regulation.
100%.
It's really solely to like keep myself in a good space.
A
So
hundred
I
percent.
go to the gym in the morning, 4 out of 5 mornings a week. Squats are probably one of my favorite workouts. Honestly, like I love a little upper body, look at that chest. But when
Right.
I walk out of squats, my endorphins are like,
100%.
woof.
100%.
So I do that and then I come back and I meditate and um and then gratitude. So I think back to unwinding, I think it's really about daily rituals to keep you grounded day to day. Does that mean I never get stressed? No, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. But a daily practice to keep your head in the game is so vital, especially as we go further into this digital economy
Right.
where our attention is really what companies are fighting for, the social medias and things
Right.
like that. So you really, like, as much as you want to work out your body, you need to be having a brain gym subconsciously, mentally,
Well,
daily, that you're like working out to make sure that it's in good standing to
100%.
operate in this world that's like everything that's coming at us.
Yeah, just the ads that we see in a day, a person back in the day would only see that for a whole year. So it's an exponential growth in ads and people vying for your attention, right?
It's
And the
crazy.
most stressful thing in general as a CEO or anyone running anything is people are vying for your attention at work, right?
Ugh.
Because it's not, as a CEO, your job isn't, like, the CEO, project manager, and president have kind of the same role. They have advisors and they have technical people, and they get
Mm-hmm.
stuck with a problem, and they
Yep.
come to them with questions to solve that problem. Right?
Exactly.
So you literally job is sitting down and just the king, same thing. People come and you're playing referee and judge and relationship management person. You're coming with the problem to get them unstuck so they can go on their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's taking up your attention. And then there's also what you're seeing on your phone, right? And things that are vibing for your attention there. And I love how you said this, and this is very important, what you said. And most people don't know that, which is you work out not just for your physical looks, but your mental productivity and stress. And I see stress as a build, like when you have high pressure or hypertension, the pills they give you is to relieve water out of your system. Because it's like, think of your blood vessels like pipes, and you have an excess amount of water that's pushing on those
Mm-hmm.
blood vessels, which is causing the pressure, right? What's the easiest way to get water out of your system? Sweating. How
Sweat.
do you sweat? When you work out. Go work out and sweat. Then you're going to relieve all that pressure off those pipes or your vessels, and you're going to feel a lot better. You don't need to take pills to go work out. That's why, to your point, being proactive. The pills is a byproduct of you not working out, you not taking care of yourself, you not sweating enough, right, to get that pressure out of your system. That's why you feel so much better. You literally have released the pressure physically off of your body, through sweating.
No wonder I love the steam room and hot yoga.
Yeah, of course, a hundred
Mhm.
percent, man. That's you. Your daily routine is what is necessary, and the mental routine of having a spiritual background is super important. So for me, my favorite book I'm reading right now is called the Maxwell Leadership Bible, right?
Mm.
So it's a Bible, but it's taken out of the Bible segments of leadership and highlighting it. Like,
Mm.
here is the Bible, this is the verse, you're reading it, but here's it how this person wasn't a good leader. Here's how this person was a good leader. Here's how you could use it pragmatically in your business endeavors, right? But
Mhm.
also still getting the spirituality of reading the Bible. So, no, I respect the hustle, man.
Yeah, I'm
Listen,
always into spirit. I mean, I always been a spiritual person, and I think that's also been a
mm,
big part of my journey. To your point,
yeah,
so yeah, man, I'm just trying to stand up. I've been sitting too long. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no worries.
Um, but yeah, no, yeah. I mean, spiritual practices is the thing. Like we talk about manifestation and
Yeah,
all of that type of stuff. But yeah, man, we just gotta do our best to keep ourselves in the, and like I said, it's all a mental game. It's all a mental game, man.
all a
And
mental game.
I try to do my best to stay grounded mentally. But other things to help unwind, to give your the audience also something else is, even I don't do it all the time, but I would like to do it more, like just journaling too. Journaling actually is a really really like
Yes,
when you like, and I don't like, it's not like topic journaling. I like will just thought dump free write.
you're right.
You know what I mean? Just whatever's in my head. I'm just like, it might be my day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, well, this was going on in my life. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? That is also very like, I literally feel like the mental like
Stress
lightness
leaves.
after. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really clears my mind.
No, that's a good one, and most people don't. I think I journal through to do lists, but I think to your point, writing it down on paper. And then when you go back to it and you see that problem you're facing, and you're like, oh, wait, you have a documented way of showing to yourself you've gotten over problems before
Mm-hmm.
and you can get over it
Jamie for
again.
that one.
Because, like, you look at, I remember how stressed I would be in college, and you think that's the largest antagonizing force you've ever caught. I see it like literally seasons in a movie or a TV series. And every antagonizer, you're like, how is he going to get past this? Season two, he got past it, and then a new one comes, and you keep figuring it out. Long as you stay grounded, well intentioned, hardworking, disciplined, you won't get past the problem. You just want to get past it. No, and you just got to give Father time and yourself grace to get past it. So,
Absolutely.
with that said, I want people to be able to reach out to you when they have their rental jobs, when they have their homes to take care of. So, what is your social media so people can reach out to you and get in touch with you?
I appreciate that. My business page is Turnkey DC.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Instagram page. We're pretty active on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Facebook page. We have a LinkedIn page. So whatever platform you're on, we are there. TikTok page coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Instagram I would say is just the most. And we have educational videos on if people want to like learn about construction.
Mm-hmm.
We got what we're doing on these projects. We just try to be a source of value to our prospective audience.
Right.
And then my personal Instagram is Lance underscore or maybe one underscore Bertrand, my last name, on Instagram as well. And I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook as well. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, and I'm gonna link all of that in the show notes when I put it together. And Lance, like I said, we've probably met one or two times
Oh, it's
physically
crazy.
in person, but I feel like I know you even
Yeah.
before this podcast, based
Thank
on,
you.
like I said, they're bad about social medias, but there's also really good things with social media. And this technology decentralization has allowed us to see authentically people when they present
Mhm.
themselves in an authentic way. And you don't need legacy media to paint the picture of what this is and what that is. Because all of us as millennials and Gen Z, Gen X can see what's happening elsewhere outside of what legacy media is telling you, right? And
Mhm.
you can get a genuine, unbiased opinion. And that is important because Emmett Till picture changed a lot for us. So what is the thing?
Mm.
Being able to video what happened to persons when they're getting arrested changed a lot for us because it's unbiased. It's a photo. It's not me telling you the story. It's technology capturing the moment, right? And that's what's happening now. And I thank you for coming on the podcast and genuinely and authentically expressing your story of how
I
you got
appreciate
here because it's not easy. I know it's not. And I respect your
Thank
time
you so
on that.
much. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, brother. You keep safe, all right?
I will do.